Hello, my name is Hulya Onel. I work at Walter B. Jacobs Memorial Nature Park, which is one of Caddo Parish parks. I'm going to talk about nature that glows at night today. When we think of glowing nature, the first thing that comes to our mind would be the fireflies. But they're not the only ones that can produce light. There are some plants, mushrooms, and some land and deep sea animals that can do that. And how do they do that? There are two ways to produce light. One of them is bioluminescence. This is really the production of light. It's a chemical reaction. It needs three things: luciferin, luciferase, the enzyme, and oxygen. Luciferase, the enzyme, picks up oxygen and combines it with luciferin. And this process is called bioluminescence, and it produces light. The second way is fluorescence. This is not really a chemical reaction. It is taking in the light in a certain wavelength and emitting it in a different wavelength. The incoming light would be invisible, and under the UV, the emitted light would be visible. Basically, the most common one I can say would be the scorpion. The scorpions glow in the dark under the UV. It's a good thing because this way we can avoid stepping on them. And they can keep glowing long after they are dead. The other animal that can bioluminesce would be the anglerfish. It's a deep sea animal, and the tip of its dorsal fin glows. But in order to bioluminesce, you have to be able to produce luciferin. The anglerfish cannot produce luciferin, so what does it do? It lives with a bacteria that can in symbiosis. So it uses the glow for illuminating around itself and, of course, for luring prey. And this little guy here would be the male. Since the population is scarce, once they find each other in the deep sea, the male latches on the female and they fuse and they stay together until death does them apart. When it comes to fireflies, there are 2,000 species of fireflies, and not all of them bioluminesce. The ones in the United States, in the West Coast, ones are diurnal. They can't illuminate, so they are active during the day. But the ones that are in the East Coast, where we live, in our area, they are nocturnal and they can bioluminesce. The bioluminescence, the chemical reaction, happens in their abdomen. It is called a lantern. Here, the luciferase enzyme picks up oxygen and combines it with the luciferin, and there goes the flashing light. Why do they do this? Not for showing off or for some magical reasons, but for survival. First of all, they can find their own species, because each species has a different pattern of flashing. So when the females are close to the ground and the males are in the air, they're flashing their brightest light and then in a certain pattern, and then their own species, females, recognize this, and of course they pick up the brightest, flashiest one, and they signal back with the same pattern, so they know they're the same species, and the male comes to the female when it gets the signal. But this is not always a good thing, because another species can imitate the female and lure the male to eat. So being flashy is not always a good thing. Why else do they illuminate? Do they illuminate? Yes. Even the larva can produce light. not for mating, of course. This is a signal for the prey. It says, I don't taste good, don't eat me. Okay. Unfortunately, the light pollution is one of the reasons that causes the decline of fireflies. They are going down. Here is a little example. This is United States at night in the 50s. This is United States at night in the 70s. This is 1997, and here is 2015. So, I mean, you need some darkness to be able to bioluminescence, but it disturbs, it's a habitat distortion. Anyway, we can cut this part. Okay, the other reason for their decline is when the scientists realized, when they found out that fireflies produce luciferin and produce light through that, they started harvesting luciferin to use for medical purposes and researches. But these days, they can produce synthetic luciferin, but still some scientists gather fireflies to harvest luciferin. That's another reason. And unlike other living things in the nature, when the habitat is disturbed, they don't move away, they just die off. So when we cover their habitat with concrete, the fireflies that are living in that area just die off. Now, I think this is all I will say about fireflies and bioluminescence and fluorescence. I have gathered some samples of plants, some mushroom, some insects, and some minerals, and let's see how they look under the UV light.